Okay. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for taking time to be here. As you know, I've introduced legislation that would allow congressional members who give birth the right and ability to vote up to 6 weeks after delivery. Back in August, I met with House leadership, and I was trying to figure out what the process was for members who are about to give birth. And to my disappointment, and surprise, I was told that I could not vote. Like so many other mothers across this country, my delivery did not go as planned. There were extreme complications to include developing preeclampsia, which, as you know, is a silent killer of pregnant women. I was placed on blood pressure medications and then shortly later developed mastitis. So I was literally pumped full of blood pressure medications, antibiotics, and barely able to walk. And as much as I tried to get back here early, I physically was not able to, and I was actually advised by doctors to not travel. No mother should be forced no mother should be forced to choose between having a career and their child. And in 2024, I'm not going to allow female members of this body to be bullied into doing just that. My legislation, HRES 967, would allow members who give birth the ability to vote by proxy for up to 6 weeks after their baby arrives. This is the average time taken to heal. In line with the Constitution, it does not allow a member who votes by proxy to establish a quorum. To date, only 12 women in history have ever given birth in this body. That is less than 0.1% of members who have ever come through the doors of this institution. This place is completely out of touch with average day Americans, and in passing this legislation, it is the first step forward in the right direction to, I think, not just give mothers a seat at the table, but also to encourage people to have families. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce Representative Jacobs, who is a co-sponsor in this legislation.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Anna, for bringing this forward and for everything you're doing. It's great to be here today, and I'm so glad to join Congresswoman Paulina Luna in this bipartisan effort to modernize Congress and make it more inclusive and accessible for parents. Anna and I are both part of the unofficial Born in 1989 caucus, honorary co-chair Taylor Swift, and as a 34-year-old woman...
I gotta get to the early bird session.
As 34-year-old women, we're two of the very few women of reproductive age here in Congress. In my first year in Congress in 2021, I decided to freeze my eggs because I knew I wanted to be a parent one day, but I also knew that I wasn't yet ready to start a family. For weeks, I had to take hormone pills, give myself injections, go to the doctor for checkups, and have a procedure under sedation to harvest my eggs. And like many other women, I had to go through this process twice to get enough eggs. And even though I did this all through the NDAA, passing the bipartisan infrastructure law, and oversight of the withdrawal from Afghanistan, I knew that that process of freezing my eggs was still easier than having a new baby during that time. I represent San Diego, which means that I'm on a round-trip flight for at least 12 hours total, usually at least twice or 3 times a month. Doing that with a newborn or in a third trimester would be a big challenge. And we all know that just like pregnancy and childbirth, the voting schedule is unpredictable and we can be called back for votes with as little as 2 days' notice. That's why members should have the flexibility they need after giving birth so they don't have to choose between their job and taking care of their family. Our bipartisan resolution takes an important step forward to allow members to vote by proxy for 6 weeks after giving birth. Our resolution will help remove a barrier so that we can make this institution a little more representative of the American people, so that we can work towards passing legislation that reflects the everyday experiences of half our country, from childcare to fertility access to so much more. Anna and I have already done the hard part of finding an area where there's bipartisan agreement, so I'm hopeful that we can pass this resolution. Thank you all so much, and now I will turn it over to my friend Congresswoman Jill Takuda.
Thank you so much. And first of all, thank you to Congresswomen Jacobs and Luna for co-leading such an important bill. Americans are better with moms in Congress. That is the bottom line. We need more moms in Congress. And if we continue to put up these arbitrary, harmful barriers that allow women of childbearing age to actually even consider this momentous step, to consider this responsibility, then we're only hurting ourselves as Americans. As a mother of 2 teenage boys, I gave birth to my sons while I served in the Hawaii State Senate. I can tell you that I pushed myself to work absolutely every single day, lead my committees, negotiate till the very, very end, to the point where, despite the fact that I had a high-risk pregnancy in both instances, my children were delivered 3 and almost 7 weeks ahead of schedule. largely due to the stress, the physical stress that I was putting on myself to make sure that every single day I showed up in person to vote, to do the work that I knew I had to do, and also because there was criticism that could she really do it? Because she was pregnant, she was going to be a mom, should she even be in office in the first place? And I knew that to be present was to show that it's not just possible, it was necessary for us to be present in the halls where decisions were being made. I can also tell you that I have lost friends in the weeks following pregnancy, the short months following pregnancy. And I do believe that we have to understand that even in this industrialized, wonderful country of ours, maternal mortality and morbidity still exists. And if you do not give women, every woman, but especially the leaders of this country that are setting examples for every mother, every young woman considering having a child across this country, the ability to heal, to give birth safely, to bond with their child, then what are we saying in terms of how we care for our women, how we care for our families and our future? And so this is such an important measure on so many levels. And the fact that we have bipartisan support to say that we care about families, we care about children, we care about women. We care about our women. And we recognize first and foremost that we are stronger as a country, we are stronger as a Congress when we have moms in office. This is such an important measure at such an important time. So again, I truly appreciate all my colleagues who are standing here to really say that this is not about party lines. This is not about politics. This is about people and doing what's right for our country. So thank you again for allowing us to be a part of this, and I really look forward to its successful passage. Mahalo.
I'm Congressman Tim Burchard from Tennessee's 2nd District, and I'm not in favor of proxy voting in general. I opposed it. I never did it. Friends called me to ask me to proxy vote for them, and I wouldn't do it. And mainly because I think members abused the practice during COVID. They used it to go to fundraisers. They used to go on vacation, and they just fake things. But you can't fake a pregnancy. This is a different situation, you know. And I want to thank Luna, the mama of sweet baby Henry. And she's a wonderful mama, and because I know that because I had one. I'm an unrepentant mama's boy, and I miss my mama every day. She was a wonderful, wonderful lady. But I always remember that I think she was teaching school when I was born, and Daddy literally she was ironing my daddy's shirts 1 hour before I was born. So they almost had me in a VW bug going to Baptist Hospital, and that sweet baby Henry over there. But my colleagues, like Congresswoman Luna, are doing the best job in the world, and being a congressman and being a mama. She's also working to keep representing her constituents in Florida. This resolution is just common sense. We shouldn't force new mothers in Congress to choose between representing their constituents or caring for their newborn child. And I just want to thank you for the opportunity to be here, and I stand in support of this completely. This is something that we shouldn't even have a discussion about. So, Luna, thank you. Thank you for being a good mama.
Jared Mosier from Florida's 23rd District. My colleagues have made all the points on why, quite frankly, we need this for current members. But I think Representative Takuda put it bluntly, for the future. Congress is getting younger, right? And the idea that there are young people out there, young women out there considering running for Congress, this is definitely a barrier to that. And so to take this away, I think will recruit young women, people who can be mothers, to come to Congress and continue to bring the age down in Congress and make it more representative. And so this bill is going to do two things. It's going to protect current members here to be able to serve their constituents and have a baby, but also it's going to recruit more moms, more future moms to Congress. And as you can see, this is a bipartisan group of people that come together very rarely. And so that's because this is just common sense. And Congress is behind. We're behind corporations. We're behind the times on lots of things. This is a way where we can really come together, get something simple done, and really lead for the future. So I want to thank Congresswoman Luna and Jacobs and all the co-sponsors on this legislation. Thank you.
I'm incredibly proud of the women who've led this effort, and I'm here to support them for the reasons that have been stated. We do our best pro-family work in this Congress when we work across party lines, often with a generational component. Congresswoman Jacobs and I have worked on pro-family policies in the NDAA. We worked across party lines to get more paid family leave for every mom in America. And I think that being more reflective within our own body of the challenges of childbirth and then the weeks and months thereafter will make us more empathetic to all Americans who go through these challenges and who need policies that are more pro-family. I'll turn it over to our leader, Ms. Luna.
Thank you. We have a few minutes for some questions, so we'll open it up to you guys.
Mr. Burchard makes a good point. There was some abuse.
Wait a minute, you're not getting anywhere by starting off with that.
Well, yeah, it wasn't subtle, was it? There was some abuse of proxy voting last Congress. Anecdotally, we heard about it too. There was some utility to it, though, also, not just for parents, but anybody with a parent they had to care for, a spouse they had to care for. Why was there such a rush to get rid of proxy voting in the Republican majority the day you took over?
That probably predates my time in office. As you know, I'm a freshman member, but what I will say is that this legislation is supposed to be specifically for members of Congress who give birth, so it's not addressing those other issues. That might be an issue for the next Congress to work out, but as of right now, we're trying to basically give mothers a voice and the right to vote after giving birth. So I don't think you can really abuse that system. As you know, it's pretty much hard to get anywhere after 8 months. So next question.
Two questions. So would you extend this to other medical conditions? Like right now we know Scalise is out undergoing treatment. Would you consider extending it for conditions like that? And also, why do you think it took so long to consider this legislation?
Well, to go to your first question, this right now specifically is just for members that give birth. So I think, again, that's going to be a topic of discussion for the next Congress. And as you know, we negotiate our own rules. And so maybe people can present cases and negotiate that. But as of right now, we did something incredibly important for some members that were hesitant about proxy voting, and that was removing the quorum. That goes in line with the Constitution. We don't want to go against that. And then to your second question, I think it took so long because, when you're in a system and you're the only one, and you're being told no, it's hard to swim upstream. And so I've been fortunate to have another member with me, another female member that is of reproductive years and is going to join me in this fight. And by the way, if we don't pass it this time, which I would hope that we do, but if we don't, we're not going to just let it go away. So we will be eventually passing this. We just don't know when. Any other questions?
One of the things about this that would seem it would help would be kind of the whole mother-child bond by giving 6 weeks where you're not back and forth to D.C. So it seemed to prioritize that. But now, actually yesterday, you had a whole back and forth in the hearing about family separation and children and people who arrive on the border with children. Do you feel any contradiction between that stance and this here prioritizing family bonding?
I can keep it just focused on the maternity vote by proxy, but what I can tell you is that I don't make any apologies for that statement. I know that some of my colleagues here are going to disagree with me, so please this is coming from me, but I would absolutely rather have my child confirm that that's my biological child if someone was claiming to be their parent, and I think it's dangerous to push that sentiment. I think it's hurting a lot of children. So, but again, let's keep it focused on this right here.
Congressional staff can get paid parental leave when they have children. Correct. Is it time to consider a parental leave policy for members of Congress and to write that into the rules?
I think, it's interesting. We can come up with resolutions, we can do media, but there's nothing in place for female members that give birth. So I think that we should consider coming up with something. I did not ever expect to be told that I couldn't represent my constituents. I think it was a slap in the face to all of them. And I think that it's time that we change that. So I look forward to working with the people behind me to set that precedence.
How's the baby sleeping?
He's I guess, Andy, how's you doing? He's doing good.
Have you had any conversations with leadership recently about this, and have they been receptive?
It's been interesting. I think I heard from from my party, Republican Party, we champion pro-life and pro-family values, but there's some hesitancy, I think, on supporting it. And then on the other side, you have, a pro-women platform, and there seems a little bit to be some hesitance there, but I think that that's where you guys all come in, is that bringing the topic of discussion to the forefront in the public discussion is incredibly important. And do you guys want to jump in on that?
I would just say that I remember in the state legislature, one of our chairmen said when they tried to pass something, he said, "I'm afraid you're going to open up Ponderosa's box." And nobody laughed because it's Pandora's box. But the guy was in charge of several $1 billion, so everybody was afraid to get something cut, so they didn't laugh. But I'm not afraid of that. I think, but this is an exception. This is an exception to the rule. Pregnancy and women, mama should be with that baby. She should be able to continue her duty if we are about equality, which I feel like everybody on this stage is. So I feel like that the one exception should be pregnancy.
And just to wrap it up, remember, it's 0.1%. It's 12 members in entire U.S. history who've given birth in this House. That's incredibly small. We're not talking about a massive amount of numbers here. So if we truly want to represent the American people, I think we need to have more women here. We need to have more mothers, but more families as well. So thank you, guys.
There's hesitancy, though, on both sides. Did they explain why there's hesitancy? It seems like something that should be non-controversial. What did they tell you?
You would think, but I haven't really been fully able to track something down. I think people maybe felt that they were put into a box.
If you don't mind. I think Ms. Luna is taking some of the resistance that she's received from leadership in both parties at face value, but there may be a more sinister objective. Party leaders on both sides, this isn't a partisan criticism, sometimes want to have the members here to have their thumb over them. And they want the lobbyists to have more extensive interactions. They want the PACs and the fundraising community to turn members into really a system to kick cash up to leadership committees and to political committees. And if we've got people engaged in parenting a little bit more and the money laundering of Washington a little bit less, then leadership in both parties opposes that. So it may very well be just normal resistance to change. There may be no sinister motive, but I tend to think that that there's something about the power centers of this place that want people here. But all throughout the modern workforce now, we see talents diffusing, people living more in places of their choice and designing more of a workplace experience that leads to higher productivity and isn't one size fits all.
Any other questions?
I'll just add. Yeah. So, Anna and I really wanted to find an area where we could find bipartisan agreement that we thought had a possibility of getting through this House under its current makeup. I think, next Congress, we're going to continue working to try and expand. And I do think that, depending on the makeup of that, we may be able to find certain ways of formulating this that will get support.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.